Welcome to another edition of Crime News with Mark Solomon. It is Wednesday, October 6, 2021, and today we're only going to be talking about the manhunt for Brian Laundrie, the man on the run. Stay tuned. But before we get to that, don't forget to click like if you're enjoying these videos. Really helps the channel. I really appreciate it if you would do that. So let's get to it. Brian Laundrie has been on the run for weeks now, since September 17. The warrant was issued, and he has not been seen nor heard from anybody who would admit that they ever knew him before. On the other hand, everybody is seeming to weigh in on what he should do. But before we get to that, I just wanted to make a point. We had some confusion in one of my earlier videos where I had said that Brian Laundrie had flown from the Midwest back to Florida and then back to Utah. And that now has been absolutely confirmed as being correct. In this confirmation, Stephen Bertolino, the attorney, revealed the twist in the case's timeline to the Post on Tuesday, saying that he had returned to his parents' home in Northport on August 17 and then flew back to Salt Lake City on August 23rd to rejoin Petito. He did this to obtain some items, close the storage unit to save money as he and Petito contemplated extending the road trip, he said in a text. And after that, a number of people have chimed in on what they think he should do, even past fugitives. And here, Ferranti, who was on the U.S. Marshal's top most wanted list from 1991 to 1993, was telling Brian Laundrie, you've got to turn yourself in, man. You got to face the music. And if you did do something to that girl, you got to pay the price. And if you didn't do anything to the girl, you got to present it to the jury and trust in your innocence. Now, as a criminal defense attorney, I would never say trust the jury with your innocence. I think that's really putting a lot of faith in a system which, with this much national notoriety, is he going to have faith that they're going to listen to what he said he did and have any faith in it? I was telling a client just the other day that you can have a defense. It just matters whether or not a jury's going to believe it. And if the defense is not believable, chances are you're going to be convicted. So here we have a case where a guy's been on the run for weeks. And anybody who has been paying any attention to national news is going to know that. We did some videos on the Derek Chauvin case, and I had a lot of people asking me about juror bias and juror prejudice, and all of those things come into play for picking the right jurors in a case like this. If he is brought to justice and is charged with something in regards to the harm that befell Gabby Petito, the next question becomes, can you find a juror who has not heard about this case? And that is literally going to be a monumental task by the defense attorney, by the prosecutor, and the judge, because anytime you have a case where somebody is alleged to have known something about the case and having it affect their view on what evidence is going to be presented or what evidence wasn't presented, that's the type of thing that retrials are made of. And judges are just forefront of their mind. They are trying to make sure that that does not happen by giving a fair trial to both sides. And in a case like this, that juror publicity, the trial publicity, the pretrial information that came out, did the jurors know about it? That's definitely going to be something that comes out if this case does go to trial. But enough about that. Laundrie himself, we thought, had been hiding out in the national reserves. And that's kind of that swampy, alligator-infested waters. People had suspected that he had done himself harm, done it in a place where the alligators could have gotten rid of his remains. And his sister had come out saying he's not that good at this stuff. Others people say he can. What kind of survivalist is he? But the so-called outdoorsman is only a mediocre survivalist, his sister said. I'd say Brian is a mediocre survivalist, she told the outlet, and it wouldn't surprise me if he could last out there for a long time, but I don't think anything could surprise me at this point. And I'm sure it doesn't surprise you. It definitely doesn't surprise me either. The next thing I start wondering is he still in Florida? And when you look at the wealth that his mother and father have to bear, did they give him cash? The next thing that I start to wonder is, did he leave Florida and go someplace else? Well, there was a news article this afternoon which says maybe he went to North Carolina. So while there have been almost a dozen sightings of Laundrie in North Carolina, the sheriff's office there had said that they had received a number of calls, but that every sighting was investigated to no avail. The reports of his sightings included one report from an unidentified man that came Saturday that told police in a 911 call that he was 99.99% certain that it was him. This is according to an NBC News report, saying that he was talking wild, that it was his girlfriend that had left him, and that he had gone to California to see her, and that the guy was acting funny, wasn't sure what he looked like, what Laundrie looked like. But then he went and parked and pulled up the photographs of Laundrie and said after that he was absolutely positive that that was the guy that he had saw, and nothing from that yet. And if that man was right, if any of those people giving these leads in North Carolina are right, that makes sense. Going from Florida, if you're going north, North Carolina sounds about right. Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Who else does he know? Where else has he been? Who else does he know on the East Coast? And those are the questions that I'm sure the FBI, the local police, and I guess now Dog the Bounty Hunter are wondering. Had a really good viewer question on this. If Brian is alive, then what's the point of all this? What's the end game? How does he not know this won't go away? How does he think he can live like this? Or maybe he's in the reserve, that's the wildlife reserve, because the FBI keeps searching there. So either he's possibly dead or not, but there's something the FBI definitely wants. As far as the parents, how far would they be willing to go for their son? And if they know he's alive, it's not incomprehensible that they would let that search go on for days, not saying anything, nor was Brian talking. Let's talk about that for a second. I'm not sure they really have an end game here. And sometimes when people are fugitives, they are not seeing the end of the line. And, it's like any movie you've ever seen where somebody's running from the law. They are eventually found, most all cases. So is he just trying to be free while he can? But the longer he's out there, the longer this case is in the news, the more this case gets national notoriety, the more people hear about it, the more likely it is going to be difficult for him to get a fair trial if he does come to trial. I mean, I hope he has not done himself any harm. I hope he is out there running, and it makes perfect sense that he left from Florida and he's gone north up through Georgia, South Carolina, and is now being seen in North Carolina. That makes perfect sense. But when you look at the goal here, does he know somebody in the Northeast or the Southeast of the United States? Is he trying to get someplace else? Did his parents give him money? And if they did, they should definitely be charged with accessory after the fact, because they're helping a fugitive to avoid prosecution and arrest. The real question is, what are they trying to accomplish? And if it's just time to be free, how free is it when you can't do anything other than use cash, hitchhike, or steal things to live? And I don't think that's what they had in mind. My opinion. What do you think? Do you think it's worth living on the run if that's what he's doing? Do you think he should turn himself in? Love to hear your thoughts and comments below. And until then, that's what I've got for you today. And anything you'd like to say, I'd love to hear and read about it so we can deal with it on a future video. And until then, thank you so much for watching.